Sup, everybody?
Hey Leighton, how's it going?
What's going on? Yo, pretty good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, pretty good.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on?
Everybody.
All right, it looks like we got a full house today. The usual six musketeers.
Hello, everyone.
Pretty sure there weren't 6 of them in the original story.
Yeah, there was only 4. Aramis, Porthos, Athos, and D'Artagnan.
Wow,
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Wow.
you're
Very
current on your
impressed.
musketeer knowledge here. What's
Yeah,
going on?
I watched Slumdog Millionaire, so
Was that in there? I don't remember that.
yeah, that was the final question in Who Wants to Be in a Millionaire. So in
Oh.
case you guys ever have that, of
So you remembered it in case you get on the show to
course,
win the
yeah.
$1 million.
Yeah, who wouldn't want a million? It was actually 1,000,000 rupees, so I guess that wasn't that much. Okay. All right. Nice. I guess we could just get started. Thanks for adding topics beforehand, guys. As usual, add your names to the attendees list. Right. Okay, cool. Just go through the agenda today. Seems to be, oh, let me share my screen. Seems to be a bunch of PRs related to talks builds this week. Other than that, some PRs getting approved, smaller issues. Okay, so Kant here today? No, he's not in the call. But there's a thingy. Did someone add this for him? Anyone know? Or
I mean,
okay,
I'm
we
pretty
can
sure he added it.
okay, we can skip this for now. Maybe we can go back to it if he joins a bit after. Well, minimum required approval. Should we allow merging trivial approvals with just one approval? Collector does this.
Yeah, I added that.
Yeah, this. Oh, nice.
So
Go for it.
there are some very trivial things like one-line changes. They're obvious. I was thinking, do we need to wait for 2 approvals on those?
yeah,
I don't know how we decide.
Yeah, how do we define trivial, right?
Yeah, I don't know if how to do that, but maybe
Just add a tag or something. I
in
don't know.
judgment. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
A trivial tag says
yeah, trivial tag.
PR is not important.
I get the need for this. Yeah, having 2 people look at it is a lot. I don't mind doing this. It's like we're gonna have a set of eyes anyways, looking to see whether or not something is trivial or not anyways. So I'm fine with this, especially like for the
Maybe
hot fixes
we
or like.
can we can do something like if the person approving it, like the first person approving it, is confident that it's good to go, maybe they can like tag +2 or something, like add 2 votes instead of 1.
I'm not sure if GitHub supports.
Yeah, GitHub doesn't support it. I mean, we can have some
Okay.
workflow like a comment or something, or a tag or
Just
something.
we could just have every approver create a second GitHub account.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Quote.
Ola wants to use Garrett. We're switching to Garrett.
Yeah.
Button 2.
Oh no, this conversation is going in the wrong direction.
Why did you suggest this?
No, I think I don't know. I think it should be fine. Like hopefully we all have enough of a judgment to be able to decide if something is trivial or not.
Yeah.
Except for Diego, who's shaking his head, but hopefully everybody else
Yeah.
feels like they're confident in deciding if something is trivial or not.
I'm in
Everything's
complete
trivial for Diego.
disagreement with that statement, Alex. No, what I mean is that I think many times trivial changes or something that may look trivial gets introduced, and almost every time someone has a comment or a suggestion or something or an objection about something that the original author had not think about considered, and it ends up sparking a lot of discussions. For example, my last PR that removed the unused imports
Oh yeah.
had a
It's
big
jokes.
commentary about importing this symbol or not to please lint and flake, and
I mean, I don't think that was a trivial change. I think trivial change is like, oh, there's a typo and like in a comment and someone's trying to just fix it. I feel like that's a trivial change.
Yo, and
You-
also
you
your,
intro-
your PR
you-
was in the contrib repo, so you only needed one approval anyways. So.
I know
You're-
I was actually being polite and not squashing and merging it by myself to end
You're
up
just
the
waiting.
conversation. Yeah.
You got baited, yeah.
Wait, contrib needs only one approval. I didn't know that.
Oh my god. Oh wait.
I've been waiting, like my PR has been waiting for days.
He's
to get
been
two
waiting this whole
approvals.
time. You only need one, dude.
And
You have
yeah.
solutions.
I wouldn't have suggested this.
We've had this entire conversation for nothing.
All right, guys, 8 minutes. But like, no, this does have value for those like one-offs where it's like someone just like fixes a comment or like, and there are PRs like that. Like it's just not just something that we made up. Also like for like I don't know, like if one of the maintainers like, we're trying to like do a release or something like that, or like we missed something like some version change for a release, it kind of speeds things up, right? No one else is going to look at it besides maintainers. So
Yeah, but
Yeah.
on the other hand, if you have a trivial PR and you're looking for only one approver, you're doing that because you want your trivial PR to get merged fast. But if your PR is trivial, then why are you in such a rush? You can wait for two approvers, right? See what I mean? It's kind of self-defeating. The
Yeah, that
argument.
does make sense. Yeah. I was thinking more of the case where like there were ones where it was blocked for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care about this anymore. So.
Yeah, we don't care. Okay,
But-
all right. Let's
but
Always
one,
this
one,
hurt.
I guess
let's
I
move
guess
on.
one example. Yeah, one example for Diego's question was like the Docker Docker test. So I had a PR for the flaky test, and that PR getting merged would have helped like 5 other PRs run their tests without failing. So situations like that, it's helpful, but not a big deal. Now that I know contrib requires something more.
I don't care about this anymore. Okay, cool. All right, let's not take up too much time about this. It's not a big deal. So, all right, moving on. Contributing guidelines need some love. So, pretty sure these are
So
some.
Adrian tried to add support for Falcon 3, which on surface seems to be a simple thing to do. But they ran into a lot of local development issues. I think it's related to like there is something wrong at some point and ended up messing up the docs directory, and now it's not working as expected. But still, there was some feedback about contributing guidelines and like setting things up locally. We also have a bit of a non-trivial setup where we have a clone two repositories placed one inside the other. I haven't looked at the contributing docs, but maybe that's something we should review and see if it still applies to the latest to the current state. But it's not a couple of issues they ran into, I run into as well, like testing lint. So using tox elint, it takes a huge amount of time. If I'm contributing to one package, it tests everything. And then running pylint manually always throws errors that CI does not throw. So it's I haven't figured out a way to run pylint locally. I always rely on CI. And then there's another recurring issue with Boto instrumentation. Sometimes it fails because it cannot find an environment variable AWS exit key. And then weirdly, even if I set it, it still fails. And sometimes it runs. Those two issues at least I've run into.
Yeah, I've also noticed it how inconvenient it is to wait for a lint to be run in the contribute repo, especially. It's getting slower and slower as the repo gets bigger, and pylint is especially slow because it is not a static lint checker. It actually needs to install every package and its dependencies to do its lint testing. So I don't want to bring up controversy again, but without separating these packages into their own repos, is there any other solution? Because this problem is only going to get worse.
I think for the contrib thing, if I remember right, when we were pretty unstable, we wanted to have those checks because there were a lot of dependencies, especially right after we moved all the instrumentations and exporters out of the core repo. But like maybe at this point, since we're doing like monthly releases of the API and SDK, it would be okay to drop the check.
So, sorry to, but does that mean that we will be able to merge something, and then when we do the release, we will have to do lint fixes for all the stuff that was not caught before?
I thought we were talking specifically about like the contrib. But
Yeah, I'm also talking about control.
are we talking about the contrib checks on the core repos?
No, sorry, we're talking about different things. I
I
was
think
talking
him
about
specifically. So
Yeah,
back to the original issue, not the talks stuff. Like the experience for like just setting up an environment is difficult. Like this poor guy, he just wanted to run lint on the project, and like he couldn't get a lot of stuff to pass. Mostly, I think it was due to like our kind of like doubles dependency on the fact that like SDK still depends on instrumentation, but everything in contrib relies on stuff in core. And that was like really difficult to get through. Also, I think since this is a month ago, this is like in the middle of like, I think we had that like, build issue with GitHub as well.
No, it ended up being a problem with Elasticsearch that Alex submitted.
Right, right. Yeah. And also like, like as well the fact
branch
that
was a problem.
the branch thing, yeah, like just it's like a bunch of like inconvenient stuff that like it's not a negative on like our docs or anything. It's just that we kind of it's just a combination of factors that each have been lackluster that kind of combined to a really crappy experience. So yeah. And
Can
that's
we, so one thought, can we remove this setup having to clone core inside contrib and by default depend on the packages from core published to PyPy? Then for most cases, it'd be pretty simple to contribute to contrib, but people who want to do changes that touch both core and contrib at the same time, they would have to clone or figure out a way to use dev dependencies. And we can provide a way for that. Maybe what we have currently will be the solution, but for majority of people, like contributors who are fixing one-off bugs, adding support for new instrumentations, they do not need to use the core from main branch.
yeah, like like instead of, I don't really like such, specific logic or use cases for our builds. Even though like, yeah, we can just make them and like do them once, it's fine. Like just inherently like our dependency structure is wrong right now. And I kind of just want to address that, to fix that. So that like, no matter what, like contrib wouldn't rely on core, right? Like he's right. Like, what is the point of having core package if it depends on the contrib package? Like vice versa, right? Like he's right about this, so.
I mean, the
We
reason
fixed that
why,
though, right?
yeah,
We
but
moved
No.
instrumentation into core.
no, but
No, we didn't
reason
fix
we are
that.
doing that, Leydon, is because we always had this concern about making a change in core and then having our country packages break. So to make sure that that did not happen, we artificially introduced this dependency of core of country on core, so that we can run the
but
tests
we
at
can.
the same time. And I actually, I mean, I understand the need for that, but I think the problem that we're having is the fact that we're pretty much always running on latest, because these if we had our country packages fixed on core component versions, then we could update core and we could only update the dependency version of the country packages after we have tested with the new core component version. So, but we're not doing that. We're not having fixed dependencies and upgrading them one by one. I also think this could be the solution for the problem that Wei just mentioned, that what do we do if we need to introduce a change in a contrib and a core component at the same time? If we use fixed versions, we could, in the same commit that updated the versions, we can introduce the change on both packages. See what I mean? So that of course would no, sorry. Well, that's a solution. Yeah, the problem that they are in separate repos is something else to consider. But we could help us a lot if we use versions in this way, so that we don't create this dependency of core on country. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. What I was talking about before was irrelevant. Like, I was thinking of something else. Sorry. But yeah, you guys are correct about that. I don't know if that's the solution we want to go with, but looks like if anyone else wants to speak up to that topic, otherwise we can actually just open it up as a discussion to see like what we want to do. Don't want to take up so much time. We have a lot of other stuff to go through.
I would say
think-
that I like Aaron's suggestion that, we're getting to the point where things are stable and we can probably remove the contrib tests from core. I think that'll start to make things very simple, and the further we get
It
close,
could be just easy as that. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's just there's a lot of pieces that we're trying to hold at the same time, and with the tests right now, they've been helpful. I hope for now, but eventually we can move on and grow out of them.
Although just to be clear though, I think the main concern from the original point in this topic is the dev workflow, which won't be impacted by this, right?
Yeah, so yeah, I think we're mixing up CI and dev a bit
Right.
here. So
Yeah.
we need a way to make the dev experience, like local dev experience, smoother, especially for like trivial one-off changes. So someone,
Right.
even if CI stays exactly the same it is today, a person shouldn't have to clone 2 repos and then install dev dependencies from core just to make a small change somewhere in country. If we can
Right.
just solve that, I think it would be a huge improvement.
Right.
Will we
Yeah.
ever be able to make a change in contrib without installing core?
I mean, we would install it, but from PyPy, we would install the stable packages, the previous release.
instead of cloning. No, because, oh, sorry. Sorry, Nathaniel, you're talking about an hypothetical case that will we be able to do that?
Like, I'm thinking if there's something that isn't released on PyPy, won't you always have to install the core repo to finish your new dev feature or something?
Yeah, because the code doesn't exist elsewhere, right?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, that the dev experience will always need the two repos, won't it?
I don't think it has to. So every package in core is already published to PyPy, right?
Yeah, so
So
like
if
most of the
no feature,
instrumentations, they depend on like the stable version of the API, right? So
right.
if you
So
only
let's
have
say
a, yeah, go ahead.
let's look at two scenarios. So if I'm adding support for next version of Django, I don't need anything from core. Everything is on PyPy for me to install that Django instrumentation and test it, and like test it manually, test it automatically. Everything's there. I don't need core at all. When I need core is if I am making a change in, let's say, to the instrumenter interface in core, and then now I need to go into contrib and update every single instrumentation. In that case, I need access to core, and um, and in that situation, we can have guidelines to follow similar setup to what we have today. But for other cases, we don't really need it. We can install package from PyPy.
Yeah, but Nathaniel has a valid point. I mean, in the second scenario, where you actually need a change in core, then that can be problematic, because if that change is added in core master, right, and if it is not released until, I don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, then that's how much the end user will have to end up waiting for the user to be able to install it with pip, right?
Yeah, like I agree, the normal case will be like OS says, like hopefully you won't have to change it, but I feel like we can think of some edge cases where you will
Yeah.
need the latest changes that haven't been released, which
Yeah, that can definitely
So
happen.
so there are two cases here. One is if you're building both features in at the same time, and you are the author of both changes in core and contrib, then the workflow would be same or very similar to what we have today, where you clone core, and we have some tooling to automatically use it from your locally cloned copy. Right? Another situation is when we so in this case, when you commit these two things and push them, then how do we have a dependency from the core package on the dev country package? I think that can be solved by having that git dependency, because pip can install things directly from a branch. So in that case, we can say now this package doesn't depend on hotel. Sorry, some country package doesn't depend on hotel API 1.5, but it depends on 1.6.dev, and it can use like the git pip install URL until the next release.
Oh, yeah, and another possible solution, which is gonna sound completely crazy, is to make a release in core with every commit that gets merged into master. If we did that, we would never have the problem, right? I mean, if we will go like 1.51 to 1.53, 1.5, with every commit that we merge into master, it's theoretically possible. Just saying.
It's theoretically possible. I'm not sure that's a great idea. I feel like currently our mechanism for updating version numbers is painful enough to do like on a release. Imagine having to do it on every build or every commit.
Every commit, yeah. I mean, if we were able to, I mean, just push a button and make a release, it could happen.
I
But
don't think we'd need to do that. We could use just PyPy lets you install directly from the GitHub repo from a commit hash, right? Like we do the whole cloning thing just to do relative because I mean, I think it's cleaner this way. But if we really wanted to do that, we could just install from the commit hash.
Hey, so question, other than this Atrium guy, Has anyone else seen like feedback from our dev experience on how to set things up from scratch?
Hmm.
I'm
I
pretty sure I've seen comments like in Gitter, but nobody gave us this much feedback before. People were definitely confused. Sorry, go ahead,
Right,
Jacob.
right. So-
I was gonna say that, I mean, Carol's on the call. She joined AWS like a few months ago when she worked, and she was just installing stuff for the first time. And then a colleague of mine had to install it for the first time. They had like a trouble for like a day. And then they asked me and they pulled me in to explain the whole contrib repo and stuff. But from what I understood, it made sense to them after like a day of figuring stuff out. I don't know if Carol is on the call right now. She can speak for herself as well. But from what I heard, it's like it can be confusing, but once you get it, it's okay.
Like that's only because you explain it to them, right?
That's fair for sure,
Right.
right? When I explained it to them.
Alright, just some random person just looking at our docs, like how would they be able to do this, right? Like this whole like even the whole like commit hash thing with the updating your commit hash in the talks files, that I mean even that's super like convoluted, and like no one will be able to know that from like just looking at the project, right? Like I'm just trying to install this and like get this to run. Like I don't want to do this whole nonsense thing, right?
Should make a tutorial video.
Yeah, either that or like maybe like instead of doing all this fancy stuff with our builds, we just make our documentations really, really good, like really explicit for every single use case, right? Because like if we just add more of these like, hey, if you're changing both of these, then you do this, or if you're only making a change to the contrib repo, then you only need to do this. Like we're making it even more complicated for the end user, right? Like that's what we're doing this for, right?
Well,
Yeah, I agree with what Nathaniel was saying. When I was starting and setting all of this up to start up the centralized sampling for AWS, it took me a while to
Right.
follow the documentation.
All they
So
want to do is add some small thing and then like they have to go through all this.
yeah, I had
So
to keep asking like for little details. He was like, "Oh yeah, you should do this, you should do that. That's not in the documentation." Um, but yeah, if those little things were there, it would have taken much less
right,
time.
right. And
um, okay.
so
I
I'm
think
hesitant on adding like any magic stuff, any more magic stuff in our builds,
well, definitely. I just have this feeling that we all agree that this is important, and I think we have been complaining about the how hard it is for our users to make things work. But unless we, I don't know, just assign someone onto that task, we won't make much progress. So I understand that this is a complicated time because of metrics and logs and distros coming along. But I don't know, is there someone who can volunteer to make a plan to make this experience better?
I'll volunteer for it.
Oh, wow. Wow. Thank you, Alex. Fantastic.
Yeah, I think this also covers like what to do if you're like trying to merge to like a feature branch as well, you know. Um it'll be pretty comprehensive, like I can help you out with this actually.
Yeah,
Because I
I
think
mean,
both of us have a very good understanding about this, yeah.
I feel like feature branches are a mistake, but that's just my
Yeah, in
personal opinion.
itself, I agree. But it's something that yeah.
Kind of necessary evil for the time being, I think.
Yeah. Also, don't be surprised if my proposal involves make files.
Yo, I don't know, anything that can make the developer experience easier. Like at this point, it's like if it's so frustrating, it's like I could see people just not wanting to contribute, you know, because of this. So, all right, cool, awesome, thanks, Alex. Um, any more? Anyone else has any other opinions on this topic before we move on? I didn't even look at this page. Holy, I
Should
think
it
it's
be
similar
makefiles
nature.
or Should we make Python files? I don't know. You can just use Python for everything.
Maybe we can open a discussion. I think you mentioned
Yeah.
that, and then we can all dump our ideas.
Yeah, idea dump. Cool, awesome. Wait, what's next? Was this just recently added? I guess this is just related. It's not specific to Falcon 3, right? Oh wait, did you add this?
Yeah, this is
It's related, right?
part of the previous discussion.
Right. Okay, cool. That's good. All right, Nathaniel, can we release AWS extension as a 1.0?
Does it have a code owner?
I will be the code owner.
I mean, if that's the
Um,
case, then I think it's fine then, right?
Yeah.
I think that was what our that was what we decided. Oh, by the way, is your checklist thing PR merged yet?
No,
Oh,
it
jeez.
is not.
Damn. Okay.
We're gonna have a code owner first, and then the PR.
Yeah,
that
and then
specifies it.
the PR that like tells you that, hey, this is how we do.
This is what you signed up for. Just
Yeah,
edit
yeah.
it right before we merge it in. You
Right,
must be
right.
responsible for all tickets. Yeah.
Gotta pay us
I just-
commission.
Thanks, guys. This is part of kind of the discussion we've been having for the last few months about getting ready to release stuff in Contriv as 1.0. We talked about instrumentation for sure is not there yet, and that totally makes sense. And we talked about kind of the stuff that needs to be going towards it. But this is separate from that. It's just something that, our AWS users have been using already. We just want to, at AWS, provide the stability guarantees. So as long as you guys are okay with it, and we provide our confidence that we will be attending to it, making sure it's stable after we release it 1.0, then yeah, it'd be great if you guys could help me publish it with my new feature that we can just put a tag and it gets published, so you can test it out.
Yeah, definitely, and congratulations to our first code owner. It's,
Thank you. What an honor.
an historic step.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Nathaniel, so like your code owner like verbally right now, but like let me help you actually put
I'll
this
create an
in the
issue
actual
for it.
repo. Yeah, I'll help you with this. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah. After we
worries.
get the checklist merged, I'll create the issue and then I'll ask you for help with that. Thanks.
That sounds good.
Thank you.
Nice. First 1.0 in Contrib.
Yeah.
Spicy. Okay. Sounds good. Anybody have any other topics they want to cover before we go into PRs and issues? Is Kant here yet? Okay. I'll just see what's up with this. This is the OTLP thing. Right. Is there anything? Pretty sure this is ready to merge. I'm not sure if he was just waiting for more approvals or he's just trying to fix the build, but since he's not here, I'll just go over this. I don't want to assume what he was thinking. All right, let's take a look here. Who does
Yeah,
anyone
I
know who
added
added
this
this?
one.
Oh,
I added this one. So if anyone wants to review this, it'd be great. But it
1,000-line PR.
contains a huge
yeah, it's just
number of
gigantic.
features and fixes. So I suggested the author to split it up. I brought it up because maybe we should have this like as an official contributing guideline that you should try to split things if you're
Right.
fixing multiple issues or adding features and fixing issues
Oh my
at the same
God.
time. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so probably another action item that to contributing guidelines to.
If you ignore the tests, it's only 500. Or actually no, it's like 1,000 still. Jeez.
This is
Yeah.
really interesting because I noticed that kind of gap between our instrumentation and the semantic conventions or like the specs for the AWS SDK. Like I had to work on the JavaScript one last month and it's huge. Like they had a whole repo for it and they did a bunch of stuff. So maybe ours is with this PR going to get to that point too.
Cool. So this would be part of the making our contributing discussion better. I feel like it's just right. It's part of the whole experience, I guess. Something that we just remember to do when we like make our docs better, something like that.
Yeah, I guess could look at it as a separate item, but could also let Alex comment on that since he decided to start on it.
I think this is kind of straightforward to Oh wait, do you want to just like make an issue for this, just to add like a line
Okay.
in contributing then?
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. Sure.
Awesome. All right, nice. Moving right along. Cool. Remember there was this PR, so I remember there was like some things that need to be addressed. Nathaniel, is everything updated for this PR, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I would say so. Probably last person who had comments was Diego 2 days ago. So I added all his changes in and addressed Oasis comments. Thanks for the approval. We'll love if you guys have a second chance to look at it because I think it's ready to be merged. It's just an update to the README, the code owner
I
description.
didn't approve it already. Also,
Jeez.
But you can now, and it would be great.
Yeah, but yeah, Nathaniel, what you said here, I agree with too. So looks good to me.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. So Diego, if you could just like take another look through this, then I
mhm.
think we'll be good to go. Awesome. Aaron, metrics API. Nice. Nice. Good job bringing this up.
Yeah, so
I'll shoot in
I
a
spent
second.
some time reviewing this and reviewing sort of like the spec and seeing where the spec was kind of hard to implement too. I'm sure Diego has some places too. Right now it's I don't know what happened with the commits, but I think it needs to be rebased. But if you go to the code, I think there are a few topics that we should probably like bring up with everybody. One of them was like the attribute calling convention. So how we're going to pass attributes to metric instruments when we take a measurement. And it'll be kind of hard to find. Maybe just search for like star attributes.
There's so many of
those-
this random stuff. Is this a rebase?
That's something I have been trying to fix. I don't know why. I have like a bunch of changes just in GitHub because when I compare that to my local repo, those changes
Right.
don't show up. So
Okay.
I need to figure out what the hell's going on.
Aaron, what should I be looking up?
Yeah, so basically look for here. You can see it right here. So if you see right here for a counter, the add method, which is like how we record when we want to add to the current instrument, the counter instrument. Like Diego's prototype has attributes as like named arguments, keyword arguments that are captured. I personally don't like it, but I think Diego has a strong opinion too. So I just wanted to like bring it up and maybe we can make a decision on it.
Yeah. So to make a summary, Aaron wants those functions not to use I mean double asterisk and keyword arguments, but a dictionary object. I think it's I think that the right Python feature for this situation is to use double asterisk, but this is something that I think we may end up going with Aaron's suggestion because of he raised an important point that the slash attribute which separates positional only arguments is only available from 3.8 onwards. So I mean, there's no way to introduce a named attribute that also appears in the keyword argument. So Aaron, I think I mean, considering this last point, I still think the double asterisk is the right feature, but since we can't do what I want to in 3.7 and 3.6, I'll go with your approach.
Okay. Okay. I guess we don't need to discuss then, unless anybody wants to add anything or Does everybody understand the context here?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. So then the next thing was, and this is not super clear in the spec. I think in the counter add, you'll see that the prototype here checks that the value for like a monotonic counter is positive, or rather non-negative. So I think to me it seems like we should not raise here, but I think there's like definitely room for interpretation, and at like a minimum we should probably be logging so that people can find instrumentation errors like.
Okay, yeah, I was just asking because I did not understand really what you were suggesting in your previous comment, but I think your last comment makes it clear. Yeah, I can turn that into a warning instead of an exception being raised.
Okay. Does anybody else have an opinion on this?
No, I agree. We've been doing the same thing for other API methods too, so.
Yeah. Okay, and then there's one more place where it's a little bit more on the fence, and that is in the instrument. Oh yeah, there's that too. Do you want to talk about that?
No, sure. Go with what you were about to say.
Okay. So yeah, here. That was it, Leighton. Go back up. So the spec does say something about instrument names having to be unique for a meter instance, but it's not super specific. So I talked with Josh, who's been working on this, and Josh Surratt from Google.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the intention here is mainly like if you look at the data model, we don't want to have multiple writers for like an instrument or like conflicting definitions for a given instrument name. So given that, there's also the question like, what if I ask for a meter with the same instrumentation library, same version, same schema version, and then I ask for like conflicting instruments. And then there's also the possibility that we can return, somebody asks for the same instrument again, and it's compatible, we can return the previous instrument instance rather than raising an exception here.
Okay, but so what exactly is that you're arguing against? The exception being raised, or the fact that we don't accept the name to be reused?
So yeah, the exception is like a separate thing.
Okay, yeah, but I think we agreed on that already, right? So
I mean, I don't know if we agreed on it because it's also not super clear in the spec. It's like we could log an error. So I think the example is always like if you import some instrumentation library and it does something bad, it shouldn't crash your app.
No, that's fine. What I'm asking is that what are you suggesting? Should we log a warning and still allow the instrument with the same name to go as intended, or should we log an error and not allow the instrument with the same name to go as intended?
I think we should not allow,
Okay.
but I don't
Second
know if we
option.
should raise an exception. Yeah, I don't know if we should raise an exception.
No. We will definitely not raise an exception because that's
Okay.
not something that we should do in the API.
Yeah.
But you don't want the instrument to go and instead to log an error. That's what you want.
Right. But there is
Okay.
one more option, which is we
How-
can, if the instrument that they request is compatible, or if it's exactly the same, we can return the other instance as well. And then they would just be aggregated together, right?
If it and is it deterministic how to make sure that they are compatible?
Yeah, so it's basically if you look at the data model, I think
It's like if
description
it's
and unit.
Same, yeah.
Okay.
Same
Yeah,
meter,
description,
same
unit.
description, same name, yeah.
Okay. Do you, I don't have any objection with that approach either. Do you want to add that as a comment or in that discussion?
Yeah, I can. I was wondering if anybody
Okay.
else has an opinion. And then there's, like I said, there's also the complication of if somebody creates multiple meters with exactly the same instrument name, schema version, and instrumentation library, schema version, and version. Can they, like, basically, do we need to keep track of these instruments at the meter provider level instead of just the meter instance level?
Do we not use the meter instance as a indicator? Is that not part of the uniqueness?
The uniqueness of the instrument.
Yeah,
So it is because it's the instrumentation library name and version and schema version.
no, but like you said, that's not unique because multiple meters can use the same instrumentation info, right? I'm talking about like the
Right.
uniqueness of the object meter itself.
So if you look at what we did for tracing, you can request the same one multiple times, and then they'll basically just get merged together at the end, right?
Request the same one. For tracing, we
So-
have uniqueness checks,
I don't think so, no.
right? But so yeah, so my question is like, just based off what you said, should we also make the meter instance be part of the uniqueness of it? Or like what in the flip side, it's like the only uniqueness is about the instrumentation info, name, and description. And so like, yes, we would have to keep track of it at the meter provider level in that case, right?
No, sorry, the uniqueness has to be per meter. So an instrument could be the same, like you could reuse the same instrument name across different meters.
Unless they have the same instrumentation library and version and schema version, right?
Oh, really? I thought it was only, I thought like the meter was essentially the namespace here.
Yeah, so in the spec, that's basically what it says. I think meter instance. I don't know if it uses the word instance, but like I know from reading like the data model and just following the metrics, say what they mean is basically you don't want to have multiple metric streams that are conflicting.
Right.
Yeah.
So then in that case, it'll be, it's just this implementation. Because the instrumentation names falls under this meter instance, right?
Right. Again, unless they ask for another meter with the same stuff from the meter provider. Like, I'm just trying to say there's multiple ways we can implement this.
Yeah.
If anybody has suggestions, like, I think we could do it correctly several ways.
Right. Yeah, I guess we could, I'm not sure of the implications of either right now. We could just continue the discussion on the PR. Unless if someone has anything pressing right now about it.
No.
Also like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just about to ask Aaron if you wanted to mention the grouping and adding topic now.
Oh, right, yeah, so before we go on to that, like, if we go with the solution where it's like you said before, where we just log an error, like, what do we return then, right, for the instrument? Like,
Yeah, so
we
we could return like a default counter or whatever they ask for that is a no op, for instance.
And it's always the same instance that they return, right? If they do it multiple times.
So if it's like exactly the same definition, we could give the same instance, and then if they give a conflicting one, we would return like a no op in that case to the second caller.
Right, so just more implementation nuances. We just don't know which one we want to do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Sorry, go ahead, Diego.
Aaron, do you want to talk about the grouping and adding topic now?
Sure. So I think we talked about this last week as well. Basically, there's in this prototype, there's I didn't put a link, Leighton, but if you just search for, I think, grouping in the
No,
file.
right there.
Oh, okay, here it is.
Oh no, but that's oh yes, there's a in line 73 class grouping, and in line 69 class adding. None of those concepts is defined in the spec. The grouping and adding is something that it's a concept that I think was introduced by Josh McDonald at the beginning of the metrics project, and it pretty much to identify the different types of quantities, those that can make sense when they are added up, for example, bytes, and those that only make sense when you put them together in a group. I don't know, like I have an example now, but anyway, the point is that is not defined in the spec. It is a concept that I found very valuable to have, and I implemented it here. I can make these things private. I think that's something that Aaron and I discussed. If we do that, the spec will be importing private things, which is less than ideal. But for the time being, I think it's a viable solution, since this is still kind of prototyping. What do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, so my opinion is, like, since they're not formally defined, it's a little bit confusing. Like, obviously it's not in the spec, like you said. And if we don't have like a use for it, then maybe we can leave it out for now and add it later. And definitely at a minimum, I agree with what you said about making it private. I think OA thumbs up this comment. I don't know if you want to share your opinion, OA.
Yeah, no strong opinions. Just anything that's. I mean, I like more private things in public. So.
Yeah, I can make them private. I don't want to remove them from the. I mean, completely, because well, I find them useful, and also because I don't want to mess up any inheritance path that exists already. So yeah, I think we can agree on just making them private for the time being.
What do you mean by the inheritance path? Like,
what happens is that the classes, as they are right now, are a bit of a, they are an inheritance tree, right? I mean, that's why these classes exist, so that you can query an instrument, for example, an up-down counter, and ask, is this counter monotonic? Is this counter adding? Is this counter grouping? By querying the instance. So in that way, you can treat instruments differently, and you have like a very easy way to know the kind they are, right? So that's why this inheritance tree exists, so that instruments get categorized, and the end user can query on them and ask this. if we remove them completely, we also are removing the capability of making these kind of queries on the instrument. And these, since the adding and the grouping instruments have behave differently, I visualize this information being useful for the user when they want to treat instruments in a different way depending on their kind.
Sorry, Diego, you mean, when you say query, you mean like look at
His instance
the,
checks.
the definitions or what?
No, it's instance. I mean, if you take an instrument, like for example, an up-down counter, right?
Yeah.
And you use its instance function on that instrument and you ask for monotonic, right? You
Mhm.
say, is this instrument monotonic? You
Oh,
get
they
a
have
false.
to explicitly do that. Okay, I see what you mean.
Great, but this way, I mean, that's why these classes exist, because in that way, it's convenient and easy for the user to treat instruments differently, depending on their nature, right? On the concepts
Right.
that exist in the API.
I agree. Yeah, that makes sense.
So
Okay, maybe
I think we can just make them private for the time being, in order
Okay.
not to lose this information completely. I know it's less than ideal, right? Because you don't want to query on a private argument, but for the time being, I think that's good enough.
Can you just leave a comment there, and then that should be that makes sense for now. We can discuss more. I think there are 2 more issues, so we have a minute.
Okay.
Sure, go ahead.
Anyone else need to bring up anything about metrics before we move on? All right, cool. All right, oh wait, real quick.
Yeah, just a new bug if anyone wants to pick it up. That's it.
Wait, I approved the PR not long
Yeah,
ago.
this is this is different.
That's
We have a
different.
bunch of salary tests that have already been disabled, and this
Okay.
explains why they like how to fix them. So if anyone wants to pick it up.
Yeah, great catch, by the way, away. Well done.
Yeah, I think your previous fix. Sorry, was there a PR that attempted to fix this, but it didn't actually,
Yeah.
or what? Yeah.
Yeah, not this one, but another
Yeah,
similar
different one,
issue.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Did you add this too? Away?
Yeah, I added this. But this looks like an interesting bug. I don't know if it's a bug or if this is how it's supposed to work. I haven't looked into detail. I thought maybe Ethereum could.
Yeah, thanks for tagging me. I have
might
that
have
on
an
my
answer about it.
radar to look at too.
Okay, cool, awesome. All right, looks like we're out of time. Unless if anyone else has any other pressing topics, I will see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
See you guys next
Fun.
week.
Later,
All
guys.
right, take care.